Matheus Cunha from Wolves, who we understand is giving positive indications about joining Manchester United. Is this a good fit, a perfect fit in Rúben Amorim's formation?
I think he suits the system, definitely. Cunha's awesome, right? He's just great to watch. An electric sort of hybrid playmaker, goal scorer. Scores the most ridiculous goals. I know everyone harps on about him overperforming his expected goals and his finishing, but look how he strikes the ball. Look what he can do from distance. He'll probably just carry on doing that because he's a very special player. And if you're looking at those two support roles in Amorim's system, just off the striker, he's tailor-made for those, because he's a bit of this and a bit of that. He can go wide, he can play inside, he can sort of fill in up front, he can drop in, he can take the ball and he can create and he can shoot. That's what those roles are built for, right? To really take the ball and put the team on your back and say, right, I'm going to do this. He's not a number 9, so I wouldn't play him up there, and he's not an actual wide player. But those roles that Amorim has in his system are designed for players like Cunha, who you just look at and go, difference maker, X factor. The only knock on Cunha is that he's had 2 red cards this season for violent conduct or misconduct of some description, and in the past, going back to his days in Germany at Hertha and RB Leipzig, he has fallen out with a couple of coaches. He seems like a bit of a character, not necessarily in always the right way, and you have to balance up that risk. If it was just about the footballer, I'd be like, do it, just go. He's awesome.
I actually think as well that when you're signing a player at Manchester United, it has to be a bit more than just, yes, ability. You have to be able to cope, but you also have to have something about you, a bit of character, personality. I do think he has got that. This is only based, by the way, from a couple of interviews I've done with him over the years. I just think he's always come across as somebody he's his own person. He just has that personality you feel could cope with the demands of playing at that club.
And you can see him. You can see the personality on the pitch.
Yeah.
He takes responsibility every single week, and did so for Wolves over and over again, and said, you give me the ball, I'll get this done. A bit like how Bruno Fernandes does it for Man United right now. Wouldn't it be nice for Bruno to have someone else that they can give the ball to and say, don't worry lads, I've got this. That again is personality.
Yep. And the times when he has got himself in trouble on the pitch, a bit similar to Bruno Fernandes when you think about it in terms of maybe a red card here and there, are the times when things aren't going well. And okay, you can argue that that's the time you need your leaders to step up and really drag a team through, but it's because they set such high standards for themselves that they get frustrated.
At least he cares.
Yeah.
It should be noted here, though, that the Cunha deal is not going to be cheap, because he signed a new contract. There is a release clause in there, and we understand that release clause to be in excess of £60 million. And all of the noises coming out of Manchester United are that, look, they need to offload players, they need to sell, they need to make money, because they are in a bit of a financial situation here with regard to all of the rules concerning profit and sustainability. There is this issue with Marcus Rashford. Where is he going to be next season? Yes, Aston Villa have a £40 million option to buy him, but he wants to assess all of his options. It doesn't look like he's going to have a future at Manchester United at this stage, but you can never say never with anything in football, I don't think. But you would think that Marcus Rashford, given how he's been performing at Aston Villa, and Sam, you'll have watched him more than most, that there might even be more suitors for him come the summer. So United might be able to drive any kind of price that they might have set as an option to Villa, maybe drive that one up to help fund further deals. So with regard to the whole situation with Rashford and potentially Cunha as well, we're talking about strikers, and we seem to be talking about strikers with Manchester United for the last couple of seasons. Yes, they've brought in the likes of Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, but the general consensus is they're not experienced enough. Some have said they're not good enough to be able to lead the line. They need help.
Which is different to how it was before, when they went through Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Edinson Cavani, and Odion Ighalo, chuck him in there. They were skewing towards too old, too experienced, and now they're skewed probably too young, too inexperienced.
Well, do you think maybe a Cavani or a Ronaldo might work with a Højlund or a Zirkzee just to take the pressure off?
God, wouldn't it have been nice for those guys to be able to lean on someone like that? Yeah, they probably went too old and then too young, and and somewhere. Can we just buy a 25-year-old? Is that like, is this an option?
Does that seem to be the most pressing bit of business for you with regard to this squad? Because it seems like there are so many areas that Manchester United need to strengthen.
Yeah, it's tough to pinpoint just one area for United. They do need quality all over the pitch, and they've got question marks pretty much everywhere. Injuries not helping with that as well. You have to say, like, how different would the back half of this season have looked if Amad Diallo had not been injured and Lisandro Martinez had not been injured? Like, you just don't know. They're very important. They're very, very good players. So I wouldn't necessarily say striker is like the most important thing. I would just say goals. Like, the team needs to be able to find goals, and that doesn't have to come from the 9. Ideally, he scores. But someone like Cunha stepping in, and then now just imagine, like, just hypothetically, Cunha and Amad Diallo in those 2 support roles, with Bruno a bit deeper in midfield, and then one of Højlund or Xerxes up front. All of a sudden, you've got an awful lot more faith in this team scoring the requisite number of goals to be a success than you do. It doesn't take that many tweaks. Just one back from injury and one player, either in support or as the 9. So I just say find someone that can take the onus, can put the team on their back, and can actually deliver and be that X factor. It doesn't have to be a number 9, in my opinion, because Xerxes and Højlund, they've not had good seasons. I'm not going to pretend they have. I think Højlund's actually got worse this season, unfortunately, not better. But they're salvageable. They're still good young players. You don't have to give up on them. You just need to find goals from somewhere.
He says you don't have to give up on them, Paul. It seems from the outset that Manchester United might have given up on Jadon Sancho. He's obviously on loan at Chelsea. There is an obligation for Chelsea to buy him for around £22-23 million if certain thresholds are met. Some have even reported that those thresholds have been met, so Chelsea now do have the obligation to buy Jadon Sancho. Do you think it will happen? How close is it to happening, and how do you think Chelsea fans would take to Jadon Sancho joining on a permanent basis, given how he's played for them so far this season?
Yeah, he's shown glimpses, hasn't he? The goal against Ipswich comes to mind from recently, and you will need players like that in your squad who can. That was a good example of an afternoon that wasn't going Chelsea's way, and he's pulled out a moment of magic that has helped the team get a draw. I spoke to him afterwards. He wasn't happy with, as he had just scored that goal, but of course he wasn't happy that the team didn't go on and win the game. And I think he's found it to be, quite settled there. I've heard those reports about some of these targets have already been met. I think he would be a good addition for a Chelsea squad. Like, he would be part of a big squad, especially if they're playing Champions League football and you need as many different players as possible in those attacking areas. I think he's somebody who's capable of breaking down low blocks. So again, that suits Chelsea.
Would he fit in Amorim's formation?
Hypothetically, yeah. And we don't know how Jadon Sancho and Rúben Amorim would pair up, because presumably they've barely, if ever, met each other. And the Sancho failure at Man United was almost exclusively linked to Erik ten Hag, right? So a fresh dawn for him, and if he were to go back for whatever reason, it is a fresh slate. So I'd be interested to see that. And yeah, on paper, like, he does suit that role. He's not a lightning fast winger, so he doesn't necessarily follow the kind of mould of the Premier League's quickest players playing actually fully wide in a traditional sense. But he's not a number 10 either. He's kind of in the middle. So kind of what you're looking at here is the Amorim sort of wide 10 support forward role. So I can kind of get it, but like how Nkunku, whatever happens at Chelsea, does feel finished, I also feel like Sancho at United, whatever happens, is also it would be for the best if we just close that book.
Let's see what happens there. Something tells me we will